Welcome back, everybody. Richard Burns here in the Solomon Project, where it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep that counts. Close up some of these windows while I'm driving because they make a whole lot of noise. Whole lot of. Yes, indeed. Whole lot of noise. I apologize for my previous video. I was listening to it and I forgot to take my gum out of my mouth, and I'm chewing away. I'm chewing in your face, in your ears. Terribly sorry. Charlotte, North Carolina, I just passed it. I'll be approaching. Whoa. Greensboro. I'm about. No, what is? Yeah, I'm about. Am I? Yeah, I think I'm about 70 miles away from Greensboro. I was getting fatigued while driving. Fatigue is a really bad thing for truck drivers. You do not want to drive fatigued. Fatigue equals danger. And you don't want to drive dangerously. Okay? And fatigue is a reason why I disagree with this whole electronic log nonsense. Even the hours of service. It's unfortunate, but some of these trucking companies, there has to be a government entity to step in and make sure they're doing the right thing, because they won't. Many trucking companies will not do the right thing. Now, you can claim that it's greed or competition in the trucking industry is so fierce that you want to secure your position in the scheme of things. It could be one or the other. It could be both. And some of these companies will push their drivers into driving fatigued. Understand that shippers want their products sent to their destinations in a timely fashion. The receivers, or whoever's receiving the product from the shipper, want their goods as quickly as possible. Also, shippers are in competition with other shippers, and the receivers are in competition with other companies as well. Everybody's in competition here. Everybody's competing. Everybody who's competing wants to secure their position in their business, in their businesses. So they will push, and when you have management, lower level management, bootlicking lower level managements, they will try to outshine one another by claiming an increase in productivity. And the ones that really don't help are bootlicking drivers. Bootlickers. Let me explain. Let's say you have drivers that have been doing a particular run for years. Drivers, maybe they were the first group of drivers for a brand new trucking company, and they've been doing a route for years, and the way they go and do the route is to the driver's benefit, so that they can accomplish the goal and not get worn out and still get a decent paycheck. And who destroys that? The bootlicker. Because the bootlicker wants to shine. They want to shine so bad. So a route that the average driver does in about 8 hours, the bootlicker comes back from doing that route with his tongue hanging out of his mouth because he wants to show off, and he does the run in 6 hours. Taking shortcuts that will increase the probability of an incident, whether it be through unloading, whether it be through counting, whether it be through equipment damage. That bootlicker will set a new pace that a bootlicking supervisor will come through and say, wow, you can get it done in 6? Well, from now on, everybody got to get it done in 6. Ignoring the fact that previous drivers, or the drivers that have been doing this run for years, have set it up the way they did to minimize all the things that I just finished saying. To minimize a miscount if you got to count product. To minimize the stress associated with delivering and having conflicts with the receiver, because the receiver's probably busy doing 100 things at once. Also, the increased probabilities of damaging product during the delivery process, because now you got to rush, increasing the probability of equipment damage because you got to get in and out faster. So the bootlicking driver wants to go ahead and set a new pace, totally disregarding why it was an 8-hour run to begin with. But he wants to shine. He wants to show off. He wants to let all the supervisors think that he's the most efficient driver in there. And then you get a bootlicking lower level manager that wants to outshine everybody else in the office, and uses that bootlicking driver as an example. See, it could get done faster. We need to get these guys to move faster. And then with time, there's an increase in the number of incidences that occur. And of course, accountability gets kicked down the pipeline. It wasn't The low-level manager that decided that this was a great idea is not going to assume responsibility after changing how things were done. No, they're not going to accept responsibility. Who are they going to blame? What do you think they're going to blame? They're going to blame the drivers that had it set up correctly, that had it set up so that incidences were damn near zero. But that low-level manager, who's a numbers freak, it's all about the numbers. Yeah, but your numbers aren't accounting for the nuances that help to create a better way of getting things done. And bootlickers, I'm telling you, bootlickers are transactional. And if you stop and watch, if you work around bootlickers, stop and look to see that shred of arrogance that they have. The way they express themselves, like they look down upon people that don't perform like they do. And notice I did not use the word better, because obviously that bootlicking driver that reduced the run from an 8-hour run to a 6-hour run, he didn't make things better. Bootlickers, man, listen. And they love to snitch. They're not trying to help you improve. No. If you make a mistake in the presence of a bootlicker, he's not going to try to help you. He will talk with you to extract as much information as he possibly can, so he can run to that bootlicking supervisor and get you jammed up. And then the bootlicking driver gets his favorite treat, the pat on the head. Good boy, good girl. You're so good. You're so much better. Wow. The kind of stuff that they have wet dreams over. That pat on the head. Bootlickers. There it is. Well, so I was fatigued. Damn, what a detour off of just being fatigued. Damn, I took that conversation in a different direction. Anyway, so I get off at the exit. So that I can go get some rest at a truck stop. A truck stop that's most convenient for me. And it's early enough. I forget what time it was. I think it was like maybe 2 o'clock in the afternoon or something. I don't remember. But it's a great time because there is still some parking available. 2 o'clock, 6 p.m. If you're not in a parking spot in a truck stop by 6 p.m., you're gonna have some issues trying to find some place to park. Not that you can't find it, but it ain't easy. So 2 o'clock should have been good. And even at 2 o'clock, it was difficult. It was like trying to find a parking spot at 6 o'clock. And there was a line off the exit trying to get off the highway because there was a long line of cars at the truck stop because there's a fueling area for cars as well as trucks. And there was a long line of cars. I want to say that the line was about 3/4 of a mile long. Outside of the truck stop, it was 3/4 of a mile. You had cars waiting in line on the southbound off-ramp, the northbound off-ramp, and on that very road that we were getting onto, there were cars waiting online to get into the truck stop for fuel. There were people there that hadn't had power for the past 2 days because of Hurricane Helen. Serious business. In this country, I wanted to say that people are spoiled, but I don't know if I should say that. I don't know if I should say that. I don't know if I should use the term spoiled. If you're a remote worker, if you work from home and you're dependent upon your electronics, that flow of energy, you're heavily dependent on that flow of energy. Heavily dependent. That energy got to be right. It got to be available. When you need to get your work done, it's got to be available. Gotta be. You get on that computer, that energy got to be flowing. You got to have access to the internet. You need that electricity. However, in many parts of the world, that's a luxury. In many parts of the world, I'm thinking back home now. Back home, that power used to go out every day for hours, sometimes for days. So stop and think for 1 minute, because the professor's always talking about being prepared. Stop and think. Where are you going to draw your water from when there's no power to get the pump pushing that water? Where are you going to get clean water? Back home, you got to boil that water. If you don't boil that water, you're going to lose about 15 pounds because you're going to be sitting on that toilet for hours. Where are you going to get your clean water? You got work to do? Not on that computer, you're not. You got a laptop? Okay. How much battery power you got? You got more than one battery? Is that other battery charged up and ready to go? Now, in the South, it gets real hot. You ain't got no power, you ain't got no AC. These people over here, they're going through it. Oh, look at them cats. Because Hurricane Helen impacted Florida, South Carolina, Georgia, just to name a few. Impact. Brace for impact. Southern states. The professor was talking about events that used to take place in Alabama, where she's originally from. Double D lives in Mississippi. They get hit too. All my peoples from my Facebook group that live in the South, they're far south enough, they get hit. On my way out of the warehouse from the previous video, there were whole trees on top of houses, crushing them, crushing cars. Cray, cray. You want to relocate, you want to leave the United States, you want to leave Europe, you want to do remote work, where do you want to go? You want to go to an island paradise? It might be a paradise when you vacation there, but if you're living there, it could be a whole different thing. When that power go out, when there's no AC, when you got mosquitoes the size of your sandals, when you got roaches the size of your toddlers with backpacks on and they fly, yeah. And you got to get that water, and that cistern ain't pumping. Power be out at night too. Sweating in your sheets. There ain't no AC, and that fan is just blowing more hot air on you. Anywhere along the equator. Anywhere between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. Is that what it is? Is that the other? I don't remember. But if you're caked up in between the tropics, that paradise can become very uncomfortable. But there was a long line of cars trying to get in there, and that's just one exit. I mentioned in the previous video that I'm not accustomed to seeing the amount of traffic that I saw, especially on a Saturday. in those areas in South Carolina. Pretty serious. Pretty serious. That's the way it is. One more thing before I go. I hope I can make this as brief as possible. But the professor brought up something very, very interesting in one of her videos. I hope you guys are subscribed to her videos, because she's not a part of the Facebook group, but she definitely puts out content that you would appreciate just as much as you would appreciate the content provided by the members of the group. Definitely. And I'm gonna tell you right now, so I'm gonna touch on something related to that video, which is the culture within policing, corrections, military, and how and what's really behind all that misconduct in those jobs that I just mentioned. The misconduct, the source of the misconduct is the thirst for power. That's what it is. It's the thirst for power. There was a study done, or an experiment done, at a university where some college students were chosen to play the role of correction officers while the others played the role of inmates. And the ones that, they played their roles without any supervisory intervention, and the results were catastrophic. If I can find a link to that experiment, I'll put it on the description below. If I do find it. If you don't see it in the description, I apologize. But you can still look it up yourself if you want to. Catastrophic results. It's power. It's the lust for power and the way that power is exercised. It's crazy. All three areas, military, police, corrections, they all form groups, they all form cliques. But in these cliques, you have a lot of cowards. Cowards that won't call out their buddies in the cliques. They won't call them out for doing something inappropriate. They're cowards. Absolute cowards. Instead, they laugh and applaud when one of their own does something atrocious. Cowards. I worked in that type of environment for 10 years. I was not considered one of the good guys. I was not. Because I didn't participate in the nonsense. I didn't participate in that lust for power. I didn't humiliate people. I didn't embarrass people. I didn't torture people mentally, physically, none of that garbage. Because I wasn't, well, I shouldn't, whatever. Bottom line is those people are cowards. And these cowards, they back each other up. They back each other up. The cowards huddle together and figure out what they're going to write on their reports so they don't incriminate one another. And those same people, a lot of the people in those cliques are bootlickers who become bootlicking supervisors. Oh my God, don't get me started. Anyway, Kitty, get me out of here because here we go with the bootlickers. Let's go. Arabamda seviyorum çift kalem aça. Göremedi kimseden fayda. İşler